Let's say you've got a 0.1 kilogram toy car, and it's jammed right up against a perfectly compressed spring. You let it go, boom, it shoots forward, racing straight toward a steep slope.
So here's the big question. If we launch that toy car up a ramp using that compressed spring, exactly how fast is it going to be going the moment it reaches the very top? It's a classic real-world physics problem. Figuring out that exact answer might seem, well, kind of impossible with the constantly changing speeds and heights. But luckily, we have a massive cheat code to solve this instantly, and it's called mechanical energy conservation. Let's dive right in.
By the end of this explainer, you're going to understand the core concept of conservative forces, the exact formula behind spring energy, and most importantly, how to apply the conservation of mechanical energy to solve real examples, just like our toy car scenario.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the launch problem, move on to conservative forces and spring energy, unlock that mechanical energy conservation cheat code, and then finally solve the toy car problem.
Okay, Section 1. The launch problem. Let's officially lay out the specific numbers for our toy car scenario. We've got a 0.100 kilogram toy car propelled by a compressed spring. That spring is compressed by exactly 4 centimeters, or 0.0400 meters. It has a spring force constant, which we call K, of 250.0 newtons per meter, and the track it's on rises exactly 0.180 meters above our starting point. Keep these numbers in your back pocket, because we're definitely going to be plugging them in later. Section 2. What are conservative forces? Now, before we jump into any math, we really need to understand the special type of forces driving our car here. A conservative force is one where the work done depends only on the starting and ending points. It is completely 100% independent of the path taken. In physics, gravity and ideal springs are your absolute prime examples of these conservative forces. To put that into perspective, imagine you've got 2 different paths. Path A is just a straight vertical climb right up a super steep slope. Path B is a winding, gentle, much longer alternate route. Because gravity is a conservative force, lifting our car from the bottom to the top requires the exact same amount of work whether you take Path A or Path B. The path literally does not matter.
But wait, this is absolutely crucial. This entire rule assumes friction is negligible. The second friction gets involved, it starts stealing energy along the way as heat, and suddenly, yeah, the path length definitely matters. So for our conservative force rules to work perfectly today, we are just completely ignoring friction.
Moving on to Section 3, potential energy of springs.
So where does the energy to launch the car actually come from? Well, we need to talk about potential energy. This is stored energy that is entirely recoverable, and it results from an object's position, its shape, or its configuration. It's kind of like winding up an old-fashioned pocket watch, right? You do work against its internal spring, and that energy just sits there completely stored up. In our toy car example, compressing that spring actually changes its shape. That stored energy is literally just waiting to be unleashed.
Let's look at the math and see how this actually builds a formula. Step 1, Hooke's law tells us that the force needed to stretch or compress a spring is F equals kx. Essentially, the force increases linearly the harder you push. Step 2, because that force increases linearly starting from 0, the average force you apply is just kx divided by 2. Step 3, remember, work equals force times distance, so multiply that average force by the distance x and you get the work done, which comes out to 1/2 kx squared. If you look at a force graph, that area under the line, that is your potential energy. Section 4. Conservation of mechanical energy. Now we're ready to combine these concepts into that ultimate physics cheat code I mentioned. Think of kinetic energy, which is the energy of motion, and potential energy, our stored energy, as 2 different checking accounts. You can transfer money back and forth between them all day long. Notice how our initial total energy bar is the exact same height as our final total energy bar. One might go up and the other might go down, but your total net worth, your total mechanical energy, stays completely level. Let's connect this mathematically, step by step. First up, the work energy theorem states that net work equals the change in kinetic energy. Second, the work done by a conservative force naturally results in a loss of potential energy. Put those 2 facts together and you arrive at the golden rule. Initial kinetic energy plus initial potential energy equals final kinetic energy plus final potential energy.
Now you might be wondering, does it actually matter if the toy car takes a bumpy, incredibly steep track versus a smooth, really long track? It's a super common point of confusion. But think back to our earlier rule. Because the forces we're dealing with, gravity and the spring are strictly conservative, the details of the path do not matter at all. Literally only the start and end points count.
Section 5. Solving the toy car.
All right, this is the climax of the explainer. Let's solve our initial launch problem using everything we just learned. Let's figure out how fast the car is moving the exact instant it leaves the spring, right before it hits the slope. Step 1. At the very start, the initial speed and height are 0. This means our initial kinetic and gravitational potential energies are a big fat 0. Step 2. This beautifully simplifies our massive equation. All of the initial spring potential energy converts entirely into final kinetic energy. Step 3. We just plug in our numbers. 1/2 kx squared equals 1/2 mv squared. And then we simply solve for that final speed.
And the answer comes out to exactly 2.00 meters per second. That's how fast the car is moving the precise moment it pops off that spring. Every drop of that stored energy completely transformed into pure motion.
Okay, but what about when it reaches the very top of the hill? Step 1. Well, our final height is now 0.180 meters. Step 2. Our energy bank account has to split the funds. That initial spring potential energy now has to pay for both the car's height, which is the final gravitational potential energy, and its remaining speed, the final kinetic energy. Step 3, we set up the equation. 1/2 kx squared equals 1/2 mv squared plus mgh, and we solve for our new final speed.
Run the numbers and we get 0.687. The car crests the top of the hill, moving at a slower but mathematically precise 0.687 meters per second. It's slower, obviously, because a chunk of that kinetic energy was converted back into gravitational potential energy just to climb the hill. But, and here's the magic, the total mechanical energy remained perfectly, absolutely constant.
Section 6. Summary and final thoughts.
Let's quickly wrap up and review the core concepts we've conquered today. So the absolute crucial points you should take away from this are, first, conservative forces like gravity and springs are entirely path independent. Second, spring potential energy is always calculated using the formula 1/2 kx squared. Third, the total mechanical energy, kinetic plus potential, remains absolutely constant in an ideal system. And finally, by just looking at the start and end states, you can easily solve unbelievably complex paths without breaking a sweat.
Before we finish up, I want to leave you with one final thought. We easily solved this toy car problem by just pretending friction didn't exist. But what happens to our perfect, beautifully balanced math when the real world pushes back with non-conservative forces, like friction or air resistance? Think about where that lost energy might actually go. It's a fascinating puzzle, and it's exactly what we'll be tackling.